Have you ever noticed that some people completely lose it when their partner doesn't reply to a text? That others bolt the second someone asks for commitment? And that some people seem completely unbothered, like they don't need anyone at all? That's not random. That's not weakness. That's not just personality. That is your attachment style, wired into your brain before you even had words for it. And today, we're going to break down exactly what it is, where it comes from, and why it controls your relationships more than you think. In the 1960s, a British psychiatrist named John Bowlby made a radical claim. Every human being is born with a biological drive to stay close to a protective figure, not just for food or shelter, but to regulate their own emotional nervous system. He called this attachment theory. A few years later, psychologist Mary Ainsworth designed one of the most famous experiments in psychology, the strange situation. She placed infants in a room with their mother, briefly separated them, then watched how the babies reacted when the mother returned. What she found was extraordinary, and it gave us a map of how we love, how we trust, and how we fear. That map is divided into 4 styles. Style 1, secure attachment. These people are comfortable with closeness and comfortable being alone. They trust without losing themselves. They communicate directly. They don't spiral during conflict. Around 50 to 60% of the population falls here. Why? Because they grew up with caregivers who were consistently available, emotionally responsive, and predictable. Their brain absorbed one clear message: the world is safe, people come back. In relationships, they don't need constant validation. They can handle distance without reading it as rejection. They fight fair and forgive without resentment. These people live in a low-level state of fear that the people they love will leave. They overanalyze texts. They interpret silence as rejection. They need reassurance, and no amount ever feels like enough. Here's why. Their early caregivers were inconsistent, warm sometimes, absent or unpredictable other times. So the child's brain learned, love is unstable. I have to monitor it constantly or it will disappear. In adult relationships, this plays out as clinginess, jealousy, and emotional flooding. The tragic irony? Their hypervigilance often pushes away the very people they're afraid of losing. On the opposite end, avoidance. They pull back when things get too close. They dismiss emotions, their own and others. They disappear exactly when a relationship starts to deepen. Their story. They learned very early that asking for help was pointless, that showing vulnerability was dangerous. Their caregivers were cold, dismissive, or critical. So they built walls. They became fiercely self-reliant, and they started to confuse that armor with strength. In relationships, they value their space so intensely that intimacy itself becomes a threat. They don't do this to hurt people. They genuinely don't know another way. Disorganized attachment, also called fearful avoidant. This is the most complex and the most painful. These people desperately want love, and they're terrified of it at the same time. They get close, then sabotage. They test people. They're unpredictable even to themselves. This style is almost always linked to early trauma, abuse, severe neglect, or a caregiver who was simultaneously the source of comfort and danger. The child's brain gets trapped in an impossible loop. I need you to survive, but you are what hurts me. That loop doesn't disappear with age. It just plays out in every adult relationship, often without the person understanding why they keep destroying what they claim to want. So why do these patterns follow us into adulthood? The answer is neurological. Early experiences physically sculpt the brain, particularly the amygdala, which governs fear responses, and the prefrontal cortex, which handles emotional regulation. Neuroscientists call this implicit memory. These are non-conscious emotional memories that shape your reactions before your rational brain even has time to respond. You don't consciously remember being emotionally abandoned at 14 months old, but your nervous system does, and it responds accordingly every single time something triggers that pattern. That's why you can be completely logical in your professional life and completely irrational the moment someone you love doesn't text back. It's not weakness, it's not immaturity, it's a different system in your brain running a very old program. Yes, and this is the most important thing we'll say today. Your attachment style is not a life sentence. The adult brain remains plastic, capable of rewiring, and research shows that several things can shift an insecure style towards something more secure. First, a long-term stable relationship with a secure partner. Researchers call this earned secure attachment. Consistent, safe, responsive love from another person can literally update the nervous system's predictions about the world. Second, therapy, particularly attachment-based therapy, cognitive behavioral therapy, and EMDR, which works directly with the trauma memories driving the patterns. Emotionally focused therapy, developed by Sue Johnson, was specifically built around attachment dynamics in couples. Third, awareness itself. This one surprises people, but knowing your style creates a pause between the trigger and the reaction. That pause is where change happens. You go from automatic response to conscious choice. Researchers like Daniel Siegel have documented these shifts in brain structure and function. This is not self-help rhetoric, it's measurable neurobiology. Your attachment style explains why you love the way you love, why you chase, why you run, why some relationships rebuild you and others hollow you out. It's not fate. It's not who you are. It's a map, written early, carried silently. And like any map, it can be redrawn. Psychoveil, understanding the invisible to take back control.